What's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? It's Tracy. Today we're going to be talking about the ban list in Modern and pretty much how I feel about it. And I have been wanting to do this video for a bit now, ever since the topic came up on one of the podcasts that I listened to for Magic. And I have a lot of feelings about this topic just because, and I'm just going to start with this point, I feel like people are very ban list happy. It's like something, as soon as it gets really good or really popular, people are like pointing fingers like we need to ban something. And the issue with that is I think people are doing it like they're happy about it, and they're pointing fingers at anything that is remotely really good in the format. They're kind of looking at it to be like, okay, we need to ban this thing immediately because it's a problem. So I want to talk about two decks that got banned and pretty much why they got banned. The first one is, we call it Eldrazi Winter, which was last year. I want to say it started in sometime January or February of last year in 2017. And it was pretty much just taking over the format where if you didn't play that deck, you just lost. And the reason why that deck was banned, or not the deck, because Ivugan was banned, and you still see the deck, it's not as popular anymore, but it was just the fact that everyone was playing it, and that's a huge issue. And in my video, I don't remember what it was called, but where I talked about how humans and how people are saying oh, everyone should just be playing that deck, I'm the thing that happens though is if everyone plays a deck, then something gets banned. Then you have an instance like that. So telling everyone that they should be playing one deck is, in my opinion, just the most incorrect thing ever, because if you have that, then you have a ban, and then it's well, where do people go from that? And why do we want bannings? We shouldn't want that. I don't know why everyone's we should just have this thing be banned. And I think if you're making a case that something should be banned, I think you should have very strong evidence for why you think that a deck should be banned, or a card should be banned, I should say. So anyways, Eldrazi Winter took up the format. I totally understand why that was. It was the fact that everyone was just, literally everyone was playing it, and if you weren't playing it, you lost because the deck was so popular and it just consumed the format, and it was very unhealthy. Now, Twin. That was another thing. Twin has been banned for so long now. It's so weird to talk about it. It was kind of one of those things that I guess Wizards was just kind of sick of seeing it. They wanted variety. It showed up too much. It was it got banned for a different reason, I would say, than Eldrazi. Yes, Twin was really popular, but you wouldn't really see a top 8 where there was Eldrazi was a top 8 list would come out and 7 out of the 8 decks would be Eldrazi. That's a huge issue. Twin wasn't really like that. You would just kind of see it I'm sure it did consume some top 8 lists, but it was still very prevalent in the format. And I get why they did that. They just wanted variety. It was a deck that just saw so much play. It was consistent. And Twin was a deck that just kind of had all the answers. It had that, I think the thing that people really don't understand about Twin was they think of those combos and they're well, that's just the deck. And that's all they do. And I'm the thing is they didn't. I mean, they're running a lot of really good cards. Their sideboard was just really well. You had variations of the deck too. You didn't just have blue-red. And it just was a really good control deck, but it also had that kind of emergency button, panic button, hey, I can't win the game unless I make all these tokens and kill my opponent. I think people, when they see that deck, they always see that combo, and I think that's very incorrect. It is really good, and it is, again, the emergency panic button, or a deck that can just realistically kill you on turn 4, but there's so much more to that deck. The deck has, 50 other cards or whatever, there's so much more to that deck than just that combo. But yes, anyways, so I do think that it was really important for them to ban that deck. So the thing is right now, at the current, when I am filming this video, as it currently sits, there's no one deck that is really consuming all, I would say. You will see variety in a lot of top 8s, which I think is really great. I think that's really healthy, and I think that the Modern format should continue to look like that. So when people are talking about cards and humans that should be banned, that makes me really mad, because like there's nothing wrong in that deck. There's nothing that like I'd play against it and be like, oh my god, this card is so overpowered. Like the deck does a lot of things and it does it really well. You know, you have your hand disruption, you're running like Meddling Mage, which is just like amazing. I've always really liked that card. And it just runs a lot, it has just a lot of power. Deck is really sweet. So I don't think that anything should be readily banned in that deck, as that's the most like popular, I would say, like top of the line. However, Jeskai is kind of making a comeback, and we have our control deck, Swoo, coming back because of my boy Teferi, so that is really exciting. So yeah, no, I don't think there's anything that I would say that is really needs to be banned, I would say, in the current format. A lot of people talk about Ancient Stirrings. This is kind of like the card. And when you look at this card, you're like, this is like pretty good. Like, it's not, you look at it and you're not like, it's not like you see a card that is just so overpowered. Like, I think that's kind of interesting, is like, in the format, like, I don't know, what would I say is a card that's like overpowered? Like, you play it and you're just like, oh my god, that card's broken. I can't think of anything like off the top of my head right now. But like, you look at a card like Ancient Stirrings and you're like, it's not that. Like, you look at that and you're like, compared to like the twin combo or like, you know, Ayaboog, and you look at those and you clearly, prevalently see that there's something really powerful there. You look at Ancient Stirrings and you're like, I mean, this card's great, but you're not like, it doesn't have like the same, I would say, it doesn't visually look like it has the same impact that maybe like those other cards that I talked about do. However, don't be fooled. This card is really good and it's used in a variety of decks. Do I think the card should be banned? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's being used in eggs, like Ironworks combo, like that whole kind of thing. You'll see it in like Titan. There's another deck too that's running it that I like cannot think of off the top of my head. There's another deck that runs it and I can't think of what it is right now, but it's being used in a couple of decks. So the idea is that it would kind of hurt like those couple of decks. However, I don't really see a need for it because it's not like any of those decks are rising up and consuming all of the meta. So I don't really see that fitting in there. Is it like the best cantrip in Modern? Absolutely. But I will also say, and this is just playing devil's advocate here, but you have like the best green cantrip. And it's kind of one of those things that I feel like a lot of times Wizards is just really scared to give blue any sort of powerful tools. And okay, I'm biased, I get it. I'm a blue mage and I'm totally coming from that sort of place. But you look at like blue 1 mana like Serum Vision-y effects, they're not good. Serum Visions is really not that good. When you have like Legacy like Brainstorm, you're like, okay, yeah, Serum Visions is just trash. I mean, we run it because it's the best thing that we have, but it's definitely not where we want to be. I think it's kind of weird that like green gets like to look at 5 cards, which is just amazing. That is so much card. When you have a 60 card deck and you have 7 cards and you cast it on turn 1 on the play, you're looking at, you know, that, so it's just, you're getting so much advantage. But then like blue can't have anything that's overpowered. Now, I'm not saying that Brainstorm should be like legal. I don't agree with that. Just of seeing the effect of Jace the Mind Sculptor Brainstorm effects, I don't think that's good. But like something like Preordain, I think would be fine. I think that I just think that would be fine. The thing I have been campaigning for, I would say, is the unbanning of Bloom. I think Summer Bloom could just be unbanned right now, and I think it would be still fine. Like, you're gonna have those turn 2 kills and it's gonna happen, but like the meta has shifted so much since that banning. There's been so many things that have happened. There's been new decks, and I just think like, I think the format can handle it right now. Again, I'm totally biased because like, you know, I played that deck and I'm gonna build that deck. I have hopes for it, even if Bloom does stay unbanned. But I just think that the format has so many ways of dealing with it. And you have the printing of damping sphere. I keep wanting to say dampening. I don't know why they did that. I feel like of all the people who said the name out loud, no one said this card should just be called dampening sphere. I don't understand that. That just doesn't make sense to me. So, I feel like it would be it could be unbanned. And like, again, I think people do the same thing with like Twin. Is like, they look at the deck and they're like, that's a turn 2 deck. And I'm like, okay, yes. But you also have to really count on people piloting that deck well. Titan's one of the hardest decks, if not like the hardest deck in the format to play. And I think to say like, oh, if you unban it, like, there's gonna be people who are gonna pick it up, of course. But there's gonna be a lot of really insufficient people who pick it up. Which is not me insulting anyone, it's just me saying that the deck is really hard, and I think to be like, oh, we should just, like, Lantern Control. Like, that is a deck that is so hard to pilot, that, like, when you have someone who pilots it and, like, top 8s or, like, whatever with it, or, like, Ironworks combo, too, like, when Matt Nass won the, was it GP or was it the Pro Tour? GP. And I'm pretty sure. And there's going to be a lot of people who flock to that deck just because it's the #1 deck. But it's like, but how many of those people are actually going to sufficiently pilot that? So you weed out like a bunch of people who you're like, they're just not going to be able to play the deck, at least in the beginning, really well. And so, I don't know, like, I just think that it's like, fine, like, again, I think with that addition of that sideboard card, and everyone's running Blood Moon, like, Blood Moon is just everywhere right now, like, especially with like Mardu Pyromancer being like, I think just one of the best decks right now. I thought that for a while, and ever since I saw Brennan DeCandio's list, I was like, I'm a huge fan of this deck. I think this deck is really sweet. And then, you know, Marshall Arthur's just top-8'd Kentucky? I think the Kentucky GP with that deck. I think it's really sweet. So I think that the card could be unbanned right now and it would be fine. But I understand why a lot of, like, I get both sides. I get why people think Ancient Stirrings is super overpowered. Funny, it's run in that deck too, which would be kind of funny if they did like if they did a shift in that where they like unbanned Titan, I'm sorry, unbanned Bloom, but then banned Ancient Stirrings. That would be so interesting. I don't even know what that would look like. I don't even know what that deck would shape, because like the thing is, like, the deck lists and that Titan are so tight that it's like, it's so hard, like they got to figure out what to you know, what to do there. So that is it, guys. That is it for my opinions on ban list as it currently stands. I may do like more of these depending. I'm definitely like, if things get banned or unbanned, I'll definitely do a video on it, because I like to see, you know, what I like to speculate, be like, hey, this is what I think is gonna like happen and stuff. But I'd really like to know what you guys think, because I feel like this is a topic that people feel very strongly about, which makes total sense. It impacts the gameplay a ton. So I'd really like to know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in my next video.